Hello everyone, and hi. So, this is Pillars of Eternity. A brief introduction. I'm Daniel. Hello. I am the owner and operator of Charismatoac, where you're watching this, and I love role-playing games. This should come as no surprise to anyone who's taken note of what's actually being posted on the channel, but I've been playing role-playing games for a long time. Tabletop RPGs, but indeed also computer video game RPGs. Started out playing some early games back in the summer, I don't even know when I was playing Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and Neverwinter Nights, Planescape Torment, one of my personal favorite games of all time. Really good games, like classic RPGs. And there was a time where it was just the longest lull in these kinds of games. We didn't see any sort of isometric role-playing games in the mainstream video game media. We had Dragon Age Origins at one point. That was pretty good, and then it just kind of changed and got worse with every repeat, with every new version they made. Dragon Age 2 and forwards with the god's forsaken dialogue wheel. It's horrible. I've heard Inquisition's really good, but I've not played it. I've seen some footage of it. It looks alright. But this particular game, really struck a chord with me. I've only played it briefly. Bought it back when it was released in March 2015, and just got really busy after I got it, so didn't have the time to sit down and enjoy it for a long spurt. So instead, here we are. I really want to play it now. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this as much as I will, and thought we could sit here and have fun with this game together and talk about some role-playing games while we're doing it, because role-playing games are awesome, and we should talk about those because they deserve talking about. All right, so first things first, I guess. Let's check the options, right? So I want to tinker with the difficulty. When I first played the game, I as I said, I didn't get that far into the game, but I got a little ways, and it wasn't particularly hard. I had a lot of items that I never used. I never used consumables. I never used the enchantment feature of the game, and I didn't use the food items that give you, long-term stat bonuses. So I was thinking as I picked this game back up again that I wanted to feel like these items were necessary, and I wanted to feel like their inclusion in the game was to my benefit and not just a thing that I've looked at in my inventory. So we're gonna make sure that the difficulty is a bit harder. We're gonna try and play this game on hard, I think. Not the Iron Man mode, because gods no. We're gonna be here for many years if that's the thing. But let's look here first at these options. We have the air effects highlight, sure. Maiming companions, yes. Unrestricted stash. Do I want to have the unrestricted? Not having the stash unrestricted, I think, is gonna result in a lot of backtracking. I think maybe we just keep the stash unrestricted. Knockout injuries. They will not receive knockout injuries when they are reduced to 0. No, let's keep knockout injuries, it's fine. Show qualifiers. Display qualifiers that causes conversation options to be unlocked. Yeah, let's do that. In-game tutorials, why not? I remember this game as being having a very interesting look at its own mechanics, right? Because it would be very easy to just say, oh, we're designing a classic RPG for the computer, for computer consumers. So we're just gonna use a system that's very similar to what's already been done. But that's not what happened in this game at all. This game uses its own system for a lot of stuff. It's sufficiently complex that you can get good at it, while sufficiently lenient that you don't need to master every facet of it without to be able to progress in and complete the game. Combat tooltips, yeah, why not? Detailed quest updates, sure. auto-level companions. This will auto-level companions to the player's current level following a standard level progression. If disabled, the player may choose their level progression. So what I'm getting from this is that if I keep this on, then there will be a shared experience pool. If that's the case, then I mean, why not? I have this thing I do in JRPGs where if I get a party member later on and they're like really under-leveled in comparison to the rest of the party, I tend to not bother leveling them up. I just stick with the party I already know that I have at a better level. So if that's the case, I don't want that in here. I want to feel like I can explore all the characters the game presents us with. So yeah, let's not worry about that. Show personality and reputation. The effects of choosing conversation options and the reputation personality. No, I don't want this. I think we organically embrace what we do, right? Like, I mean, if we go out there and the game thinks we're being a huge asshole, we want the game to be honest about that. We don't want to. We want to play the character we're playing without feeling like we're forcing ourselves to harvest a certain form of reputation. So let's keep that a mystery. Hovering over enemies will pop up comparing the known defense scores and attack security. Yeah, sure, why not? Tooltips is always good. Display conversation options for which the party does not meet the prerequisites. Yeah, sure. When do we want to pause the game? On character death? We don't really want character death. There's gonna be some save scumming in this game. So yeah, let's not bother with that. We could pause it when an enemy's been spotted, and we could stop party movement when that happens. Sure. That would necessitate less clicking. Extraordinary defenses. Party member finishes ability. Character hit, attacked, spell cast, target destroyed. No, this is good. I think this is good. Okay. And everything else is the way we want it. So... okay. Let's save. Alright, let's get into Pillars of Eternity. And let's talk about some of the... I mean, one of the greatest things about all CRPGs is character creation, right? Like tinkering around with the options you're given and looking at what, a lot of games are being judged in the first 5 minutes when it comes to character creation. You get into an RPG, if you're presented with a lot of options, then, we're more positively predisposed towards the game because, oh my god, we have a lot of choice, and a lot of choice implies that the game will, in some respects, play differently depending on our preference, which is a nice feeling. Pillars of Eternity does this pretty well. Has an excellent character creation system, especially when compared to its predecessors. We talked about this. We want to play on hard. The hard difficulty is suited for Infinity Engine veterans who are looking for a challenge. Yeah. Survival requires micromanagement and optimization of stats through items, spells, and abilities. Let's do that. Let's do just that. Path of the Damned. No, Path of the Damned is. I believe this game has a manual. Right? This is one of the greatest things about this game. One of the things that makes this game like an artifact of RPGs is that it actually comes with a manual that contains information about the game that you can read through to properly understand and get an idea of what you're playing. And I believe Path of the Damned means that enemies deal 50% more damage or have 50% more HP or something. It skews the stats. We don't want that, actually. We want the game to be hard. We don't want it to just inflate what's coming at us in a bullet spongy way. So let's not do that. Such a beautiful game. The soundtrack to this game is just excellent. Sha. Yeah, let me let me just excuse myself.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night.
Let's not.
Their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Suddenly ill, sweating and shivering. Yeah, that's what a diet of Mountain Dew and nachos is gonna do to you. Introduced to the basic scenario we're going to step into before formulating our characters. This is something you ideally want to experience in tabletop RPGs too, right? You want to have just a brief look at what am I making a character for before you're making the character. In this case, we're being supplemented with a lot of interesting information out here on the side. Character creation. This is going to take a while because we're going to look at the options and we're going to talk about the options. When creating a character for a role-playing game, in a video game sense, we usually present it with male-female. I remember back in the olden days, there was an old RPG called Ultima Online. And before, I believe it's actually still there, but before Ultima Online, you had a long series of Ultima games. And some of them were bad, some of them were excellent. And in, I think it's Ultima 4, you had the option of playing male, female, or not those. Right? I think it was just like different or other. An other sex option, whereby you played as a non-gender binary gender, which was interesting. So we're gonna go with a female. Let's see. And woman's role in Aora is largely dependent on where she's from. In the Edia Empire, Valian Republic, and the Deerwood, women occupy many domestic, educational, and organizational roles. They are the primary hunters, soldiers, and leaders of the tribes of the Nostaki in Glanfath and in Ixamadal. Women and men have more fluid social roles in the societies that are exceptions to the rules, and women can be found in a wide variety of stations and professions. So, sex and the roles of the sexes. It's interesting. A lot of when you create a role-playing game, I think at some point all designers have to weigh the option: am I going to make my game, my setting, based on a medieval, more divisive gender roles, reflecting our own world and what has transpired in our own history? Am I going to make a setting, despite it being like a medievally inspired fantasy setting, where that's not a thing, and you use that to set the overall tone? In this case, it's culturally dependent, which is nice. Yeah. So races. Might as well say to begin with, we're going to be playing a human for this playthrough. That is because we're going into a new and weird setting. We don't know a lot about the setting of Aora. We're hopefully gonna pick something up as we play, but being the way we are and kind of new to the setting as a whole, and not necessarily understanding the political and racial aspects of the setting that may weigh and change how people interact with each other. It's nice to come into such a setting from a familiar perspective, which is gonna be humans in our case. Playing elves and dwarves and so on, these are classic fantasy tropes. You could argue that if you're familiar and if you have a lot of experience playing role-playing games, then you would know kinda how to play an elf or a dwarf and what would matter to them. But that's not necessarily true, right? Because as we've seen from many RPGs and different media, understanding of these very tropey fantasy characters and races can differ wildly. That is also the case in this game, where the geographical dispersal of the characters and the cultural differences are supposed to override a more racially based portrayal of the character. So, we could definitely look at them, right? We have the Almara, who are coastal and island Almara, respectively. A thing that's kind of annoying, looking at this from a design perspective, is that we're being asked to choose a character, a race right now, and as we can see, all the races have different stat bonuses, but we've yet to be introduced to the significance of stats and what they do and how they affect what we're going to be making. So, not knowing this is, let's see, we can push shift to read about them, but because we don't understand the system, building a character to suit the system is we need to have the basic understanding down before we can actually make something with any degree of optimization or knowing what we are trying to create with our character. It's not that much of a problem, but it's annoying that we have to go back and forth to learn what we're making here, is that suitable, and do we have to go back and change stuff up, right, if we want to have a clear idea of what we're making. But in this case, it's not really that much of a problem. The Almara, as we just looked at, we have dwarves. The dwarves are either mountain dwarves, the Aptapo, goat dwarves, I believe the manual said, like the goat people, and ice dwarves, boreal dwarves, Enutanic. We have elves, wood elves and pale elves. Yeah, get some elf action going. Let's not do that. Orlan's small furry creatures. Some of them significantly more hairy than others. I guess wild refers to their hair growth. And we have the godlike, the abnormalities, the sterile creatures that are birthed from other races and just happen. They just occur. They can't really further themselves because they're not, strictly speaking, a bloodline. Yeah, yuck. None of that. Alright, so let's interact with those from a more familiar perspective, because it gives us the opportunity to address this game from our own moral standpoints and come at it from an angle whereby we can make interesting decisions that we can talk about without leaning on the crutch of racial bias. Alright, meadowfolk, the most common humans in the Deerwood, the meadowfolk, or the Theatan, have lived in the area for 2,000 years. Meadowfolk traditionally live in the edges of the elven forest, working on the open plains, hence the name. Most humans in the Deerwood are Theatan. They are Theatan. They're Theatan of their Playthan destiny. Fighting Spirit. Once per encounter, 5 seconds after being reduced to 50. Foe temporary gain bonuses to accuracy and damage. So, the combat system of this game is not really wasn't initially explained in the journal. Not with any form of clarity. You had to go to the manual to figure that out. Now, the way this game works is that when you attack someone, we're talking about the rules now, because in order to really play a game, you need to understand the game, right? You need to know the rules to play the game. And what we're doing here is when we attack someone, we roll our accuracy. And we have an accuracy stat with which we hit them. They have a deflection stat with which they parry or divert our attacks away from them. Once they've subtracted their deflection from our accuracy, then our remaining accuracy or lack thereof is added to a roll of 1 to 100, with 6 or less not hitting anything, above that and up to 50 being a grace, whereby we do half damage, and if it's a spell we're hitting them with, we halve the duration of that spell and its effects. If we strike them if we roll 51 to 95, then we do standard damage and standard duration, and if we do 95 or above, it's a crit, and it's 150 times. 150 times, no, it's 150% damage, so it's a half increase in damage and duration. Do we want accuracy and damage? Let's look at the other options. Still Fighting Spirit and also Fighting Spirit. Okay, so we don't have any different options for this. This is strictly a matter of where are we from within the scope of the law. The ocean folk, the Kalbandra, originated near the equator, on the other side of the globe, and are currently the most widespread human group in that region, but they have also migrated to the far reaches of the world. Ocean folk are the dominant culture in the Valian republics, and are also common in the Deerwood. Cool beans. Savannah folk, Natlan, come originally from just south of the equator, and with the exception of some groups that migrated north, have remained in the same location for over 10,000 years. We're learning from this that notion of civilization within this world is very old. In fact, significantly older than is relevant to most people alive today. And despite being like having an obscenely long record of their existence, going back as far as 10,000 years, we're learning that the society is still stuck in a medieval-esque setting, having only just reached gunpowder level weaponry. Going to shut my Skype up. There we go. We don't have to deal with that. Alright, so meadow folk, ocean folk, or... yeah... okay, let's see. They've 10,000 years, blah. Okay. The name Natlan originally means original. Okay. While quite common in the Rietzeras, Savannah folk are not usually seen in the Deerwood and the Valian Republic. Do we want to be a fish out of water? I don't know. Let's take a safer-ish approach and play one that's very a known local face. So, I mean, it would be interesting, I guess, to see if the game is going to toss any prejudices against us based on not being common. Let's do that, actually. Alright, so classes. This looks like the classic fantasy setup. We have some things here that look distinctly new. Barbarian, probably low, light armor, lots of hit points, dealing obscene amounts of damage. Paladins. I seem to recall paladins in this setting being less the Dungeons and Dragons-esque embodiments of goodness and more driven by dogma than goodness and justness and valiance and virtue. They are viewed with respect and admiration, out of fear. Many paladins hold leadership positions in armies, mercenaries, yeah, that's whatever. Chanters are bards, if I remember correctly. We are probably gonna play a chanter or a wizard. Wizards are my go-to, but I have a very soft spot for bards. Because bards are awesome and underappreciated and awesome. Play bards, everyone. Priest. I do love me some priests, but nah. Cypher is very popular. Because it's new. Because it's not really one of the classics. It's like a mentalist spellblade thingy. I'm not particularly interested in those, so let's not do it. Druid could be interesting, but yeah, we're probably gonna go with a wizard for this. Let's make ourselves a beautiful, powerful sorceress from down south of the equator. Coming up to the north to wreck house, I guess. Become a badass adventurer and kill monsters and take their stuff. That's what role-playing is about, right? Right? Maybe not. Alright, so wizards. Let's have a look at what we actually know about wizards within this setting. They are the masters of academic magic. Okay. Wizards are the students of the arcane traditions that stretch back beyond the boundaries of recorded history. Wizards are a highly organized group, often forming academies or guilds devoted to research and development in magical studies, and tend to favor environments where inquiry and experimentation, debate, and dissemination of knowledge are encouraged. Many accomplished wizards eventually become known for their eccentricity, their egos, and their unquenchable interest in all things arcane and occult. Well, we're going to be showing a great interest in what's arcane and occult, I guess. Magic and the existence of magic is a great draw in all fantasy environments. The existence of that which is not mundane is always a fascination of mine in such games, and how we who perceives ourselves as being normal, air quotes, normal human beings would interact with elements of the supernatural in a setting where they are the presumed norm. Starting abilities: Arcane Assault is a mid-range attack that hits a small hits. Wow, what can we? Okay. A hit is any attack roll between 51 and 100. Yeah, we established this. This is very nice. I don't recall this being there on my first playthrough. In a small area of raw damage. For those of you wondering, raw damage is damage that is not mitigated by armor. In this game, armor acts as damage reduction, not making you harder to hit. So raw damage is unblockable. Like, it's not diminished by anything really. So us being able to blast enemies with raw damage is pretty nice. We can target heavy armors with that. And can leave targets dazed. That reduces their accuracy by 10, which is nice. Dexterity, perception, and intelligence are all reduced by 2. Attack speed reduced by 15. Yep, it's a great ability. Let's by all means, let's use that. Spells, we have access to spells, a variety of spells. Spell. This is the classic wizards learning magic out of a book and weaving sigils and speaking aloud words of eldritch power. We get +2 to lore, which represents the character's accumulated miscellaneous knowledge and trivia, often of occult or esoteric topics. Outside of conversation and scripted interaction, lore is used to activate scrolls. Higher lore values allow the character to use higher level scrolls. Seeing as how we're playing a hard game in the hopes that we will be encouraged to use all our consumables, being able to use scrolls is probably going to be really cool and awesome. So that's good. Mechanics +1. Traps and locks are a problem for even the toughest adventurers, draining their resources and maiming and killing them. Those who are unfortunate enough to trigger an unforeseen floor plate. Draining resources. It's kind of... This feels like it was written by a GM on a technical level, right? Why is there traps in this room? It's to drain their resources. So you need to hope that your GMing group is not using the 10-minute adventuring day and just resting 8 hours for every 5 feet they go into the dungeon. The mechanic skill makes it easier to open locks and find and disable traps. Additionally, any character can use the mechanic skill to place traps of their own. Hopefully we will use that too. The highest mechanic skill, the more accurate the trap. In conversation and scripted interaction, mechanics can be used to activate or disable a variety of machines. We have endurance. 36 plus 12 per level, very low. Yeah. So endurance and health in this game are separate. You don't, strictly speaking, get hit in combat. You have your endurance worn out. You don't get injured. You get worn out, and then once you're worn out, you lose all your endurance. You faint, like you get knocked out. With every hit you take, while you lose endurance, you lose a bit of health. So people can get knocked down and get back up, and get knocked down and get back up over the course of a long period of time without having to rest. But every time they get knocked down, every time they get hit and lose health, they get less and less endurance back until eventually they have to rest. Accuracy we already talked about. Deflection we also talked about. Deflection's primarily contingent on our class, our level, and our items. So yeah, it's fine. We're gonna stand in the back and hurl spells at the opposition, and hopefully we will survive and everything will be glorious. So what spells to pick? I seem to remember Chill Fog being one of my favorites. Love me some AoE debuffs. Freeze damage over time. 2.5 meters radius. Sure, let's go with that. And Slick. Yep, let's get some. This is our grease spell, right? This is the level 1 conjuration spell that can just wreck the encounter. So let's make sure we keep that. Let's have a look at these. Overwhelms anyone in the area of effect with brilliant, bewildering pyrotechnics display, decreasing their will and leaving them dazed. Dazed is good. We might consider this the parasitic staff. Summon weapon. Not really sure about this. Creates a glowing staff of pure energy for the wizard to wield. For the wizard to wield. Okay, so this is a spell with which we can equip ourselves for melee. Let's not do that. Let's hopefully have a fighting character who can deal with that for us. Eldritch Aim, don't really care. Fan of Flames, it's probably gonna be pretty good. I mean, it always helps to have some damage, right? So let's say we have a Fan of Flames and we need to pick one last spell. Fleet Feet. Plus 20 defense when disengaging, sounds pretty good. So in this game, when we walk into melee in this game, when we get engaged, when we're in melee range, we are engaged. Characters can engage a certain number of enemies. So if we are walking into melee with a guy who's already engaged with the amount of enemies he can be engaged with, we won't be engaged by that guy, right? But for most parts in melee, we're considered engaged. People will punch us, and we will punch back very feebly, for we are we're a nerd, a horrible, scrawny little nerdling. Well, we don't really look it. I guess in this game, wizards derive some of their oomph from might, the might stat, so we might not be that scrawny of a nerd, really. But, okay, so we're not that melee-oriented. So if we want to disengage, the enemy gets a disengage attack, which is going to hurt a lot. Higher accuracy, higher damage, and if they hit us, we might get stopped dead and remain in striking distance. It's generally speaking, it's horrible. So we could use this to prevent, to get out of binds and be better at disengaging, increase our defense when disengaging at least. But on the other hand, we want to ideally just avoid that situation entirely, right? We want to move smartly and we want to scout. We're going to scout a lot. and try to get ambushed as little as possible and instead be the ones doing the ambushing. Spirit Shield, plus 3 damage reduction, plus 30 concentration. This is more useful because, I mean, this increases our resistance to damage and decreases the likeliness that our spells will be interrupted, which is nice because it also affects us if we're being attacked from range. Minor missiles, Jolting Touch, Sunless Grasp, freezing damage, crush damage. Different types of armor have different types of resistances. Different kinds of monsters have different types of resistances, so knowing what sort of damage you need to toss out is it's gonna be pretty helpful. To begin with, we're going to know exactly jack shit, because we will have no prior knowledge of what we're running into. Plus 40 deflection until hit or critical hit. Maybe. And that's until hit or critically hit. That's potentially a really long time. Like, this is I get from this that this spell would theoretically last us forever. I might be wrong about that. We can probably get more spells. Let's try it. So we have Chill Fog to mess up enemies, Fan of Flames for closer enemies, we have Slick to really mess up enemies, and we have some defense. So we have crowd control, we have damage, and we have defense. Let's go with that. Okay. Right, stat explanations. Might represents the character's physical and spirit. Yeah, right. So it's both spiritual strength and brute force. So yeah, wizards are mighty. So wizards are buff in this universe. Yeah, dude, gonna go down to the gym and lift some bars. Get better at magic. That's how it works, right? I think it's awesome, actually. It like the implicit notion that casting mana like sap like draws on your strength is kind of awesome. Also, I love the mental image of like a super buff, like I love the of Rincewind on steroids. Like that mental image is kind of hilarious. Alright, during interactions it can be useful for intimidating displays and acts of brute force, combat, bloody, hardy, bloody. Highly recommended for wizards. Might 10+1 for being human. Right, that's the thing. But yeah, so now we know that this is useful to us because we're playing a wizard and we get a bonus for being human. But ideally we could go back and just see if humans are the ones we want to play, but we're not going to optimize that hard. We're going to stick with our choice of race. Yep, so let's increase this to... We don't really have that much of an indication of why this is good. We have an 18% increase in damage. How crazy can we go? Okay, we can't go above. Resolve the character's internal drive, determination, and fearlessness, emotional intensity, and project that to others. This is useful for intimidation, for leadership, and convincing performances. If we wanted to play a very talky character and have like all the options, like all the dialogue options, we'd probably go with a character who needs a lot of resolve. We would ideally, the game is like saying that to make a character who is these things, if you want to be even sort of optimized and have any chance of playing on a higher level, you need to play a class that uses this for some reason or purpose. Intelligence. Logic and reasoning capabilities can be useful for deduction, sudden realization, and problem solving. It gives us will defense and influences duration of area of effects. That's good, we have a lot of area of effect, I guess, so let's up that by... We have 25% increased duration. sure. What could possibly go wrong? Do we need accuracy? That's an excellent question. Are we going to get our hands on any spells that are affected by accuracy? Our perception in general can be used to catch someone in a lie. I guess we leave that at 10. Constitution, resolve. Why do we want dexterity? Let's have a look at that. Abstraction of hand-eye, coordination and balance, and overall grace. In interactions, it can be used for sleight of hand and fast reactions in combat. It affects action speed with all attacks, spells, and abilities that contributes to the reflex defense. So, let us perhaps go a bit less crazy on this and add something to this. We dock ourselves, say, a bit of perception, and we increase our fortitude a bit. We want a bit more endurance and a bit more health, so that if the accident is out there, we don't necessarily... Maybe we will get one shot. I mean, it's a 12. What happens, happens. We might get horribly wrecked, but I guess we will find out. We can supplement our stats with drugs. All the drugs. Use drugs, kids. Don't do that. But yeah, we can supplement our stats as we play, I'm sure. We can just drink gallons and gallons of magic potions and eat weird foods. Eat stuff we pick off the ground, like real adventurers. Culture. This is one of the coolest things about this game's character creation, is that it includes culture and cultural significance in a mechanical sense. It's not just, you are from here, therefore we make this, a talkie option, that different. No, that's not how it goes. It's, instead we have, like, we get resolve from being from Aedea, and we get dexterity from being from that archipelago, and Exametal, and Old Vela, and yada yada. So, also, we look different depending on... This is very festive. Isn't it? It's very festive. The Exametal Plains are a festive place. Okay. From Rauatai? Yeah, wizards wearing armor is pretty cool too. I like that the game doesn't presume that it takes a certain kind of skill to wear armor. Instead, it's just, you wear armor, you are this good or this bad at it, it gives you these and those bonuses, and you are so and so much slower for wearing it. Also, our book is clipping through our side. The Living Lands +1 might. The mountainous region of large northern islands renowned for diversity of plant life. Well, we're not from the north, are we? We were from the south. The white that wends. A large cracked southern expanse, polar ice and white that wends, is a home to pale elves and colonies of daring explorers. Yeah, no. We're going to be going for something that is useful, because we are playing on hard, so we're going to pick something that helps us, even if that means picking something that might not necessarily fit the concept all that well. Old Vela, once the crown jewel of the southern seas, Old Velia, there's an I in there, Velia, is now the crumbled remnants of an empire of warring merchant nations. That sounds awesome. Counting many humans and dwarves among their ranks, the old Valian countries are still forces to be reckoned with, and are proud of their rich cultural heritage. So, we're kind of an ex-nation running off fumes. That's pretty cool. I can deal with that. Or we could go Might for 18. I am hard-coded by Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder to look at that 18 and think, yes, this is good. This is joy. But really, there's not that much significance, because we don't run off the same types of modifiers. So we're not jumping from +3 to +4 there. We've been able to see that that's not the case. So let's go with Old Valia. Our background, also very interesting. a lot of games, a lot of role-playing games have this thing they do whereby your background doesn't really in any way tie into what your character is. I'm looking at you, Dungeons and Dragons. Shame on you. Not really, but I'm looking at you anyway. Whereby, like, you make a character. You might make a character for let's just say a standard, like, level 1 game. You make a fighter. You say, oh, well, I used to work in a brewery, and then I wanted more, so I started, like, I looked up to some knights, so I started practicing in hiding, and I kind of slacked off on my brewery skills a bit, and then I journeyed out and saw these and those parts of the world before finally joining the knightly order of the Crimson Griffin. And then I became a level 1 fighter, and now I'm adventuring and being awesome. And none of that stuff matters, right? None of it. It's just there. It's fluff. Fluff is good. Don't get me wrong. Having character detail is awesome, and knowing stuff about your character is awesome. But when the game doesn't recognize that can sometimes be a little bit disheartening. Because you have to kind of explain away why your background doesn't in any way really affect what's going on with your character, right? Why can't I brew ale if I used to be a brewer? I could, of course, like, choose profession brewer, but then I am deliberately gimping my character, and we don't want that. So that's why, like, some games don't do that. Some games are really good about this kind of stuff. You play Burning Wheel? Everyone should play Burning Wheel. I have yet to actually sit down and play Burning Wheel. I just own the book and I look at it with sparkles and anime twinkles in my eyes. I've been reading through that thing for multiple times now, and it looks so good. I very much hope to bring my first experiences with Burning Wheel to the channel, so we can have a look at that game together, because it just seems really excellent. But yeah, so this is cool. We have backgrounds and they actually affect who we are and what we can do. So, did we used to be an aristocratic savannah folk? That's a good question. We could be an artist. This gives us law, survival. Interesting. What does survival do? It allows characters to choose from a variety of long-term bonuses for each time they camp. That's pretty awesome. You can damage reduction, and after the 6th rank, the previously earned bonuses become more powerful in the same order they were received. That's intensely cool. I love that. I don't think survival is something we're going to shine that much in. I don't know, but I don't think so. Dissident, drifter, stealth, survival, athletics, mechanisms. Used to be a slave. We were born into servitude and toil and horribleness. Used to be a merchant. That supports both law and mechanics, so if you want to take, like, a balanced approach to those two skills we already got bonuses in, we could use this. If we want to specialize in law, we can take artist or aristocrat. I mean, why not? Let's. Okay, so we're working with a female character here, right? So let's not just have her be female, not just circumvent the usual trope of females in a medieval society, but let's also make her an aristocrat, right? Let's give her some privilege. Pedigree and bloodline, conversations peppered. Your days have been marked by lavish meals and extravagant parties. And then magic happened, and now adventure, and we're for some reason going to buy a house on some lord's land. Why not? This should make for an interesting character. Something horrible happened in our past, obviously. And as a result, we became an adventurer, and now everything is glorious and murdery. Hello. That's a very charming look. Love both of those. Yeah, no. All right, so let's pick. I like this. It's very good. Look at those eyes. Yeah, it's good. Okay. So let's just pick, I guess, gray because it matches the picture, right? Secondary color, bluish something. Skin. Can we go darker? We want to go darker. I guess this will have to suffice. I would have liked some more options, but this will have to suffice. I guess the options differ depending on where you're from, your race and your sub-race. But this'll do fine. Hair, dark brownish. I'll also go with red hair. I know what I want to name the character. I want the character to be Taran Tamara Jones. Not physically looking at her because this doesn't look anything like her, but I kind of wanted to play around and kind of be Taran in this game. Although I guess maybe Shiva Nebreen instead is a bit more physically inclined, and I guess we're a mighty wizard. Well, it's gonna be this is gonna be sufficient, I'm sure. How's this look? Completely dark hair. Nah, let's go with one of the more reddish ones. Yeah, sure, whatever. It doesn't match us. It's not matching completely. Who gives a rat's ass? Face. That's good. Oh, getting anime up in this. Very shonen jump hairdo. There's a lot of that going on. That's pretty cool. Got a warrior princess vibe to it. Ooh, we can get a mohawk. God, I love that look so much. Okay, let's see. That looked pretty cool. That's actually really cool. Like the I'm a sucker for getting all fancied up and looking like just dotting yourself with jewelry and whatnot. Never do it. Not really that decorative of a guy, but I love the notion and the idea of it. I think just going full ham on the aesthetics can be hilarious and sometimes like weirdly compelling. Even sometimes when it doesn't mix and match that well, it can become like it can kind of transcend its own lack of coherence and become utterly awesome for it. Let's do that. Yeah.
I'm here.
I'm here.
I shall lead us.
Let's keep quiet.
Leading the way.
Ha! Sharp eyes and keen ears.
Ha!
Quickly and quietly.
I've got this.
My eyes are peeled.
Yeah? I've got this. Kill them all!
A blade in the dark.
Well?
I'm flattered.
Duh!
Quietly now. I'm here. I'm flattered.
Let's go.
Nice and slow. Hey there. Watch and learn.
You're mine!
I'll go on ahead. Just say the word. Watch and learn.
Let's go. Well? Yeah!
Yes?
I like the benevolent voice. I like...
I'm flattered.
Yeah, I'm flattered. I like that. It's very pleasant. Very pleasant sounding... well... very pleasant sounding voice, but also like a very nice attitude. I don't actually know if what kind of attitude we will be going for in this game. I
Quickly and quietly.
guess
Let's
maybe.
go. I've got this.
Quickly and quietly.
Yeah. Let's go.
You know what? Let's stick with benevolent voice and just we'll see if we let that influence how we're gonna play this character. I don't know. We might just, moment of truth, right? We're gonna be looking at this screen for 8 hours. Oh gods. Okay, so what are we going for? Shiwani Breen or I mean, it's not that there's any indication or reason to believe that the Savannah folk would be Irish in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, why not? Like, let's try and let's have fun with the notion that we've picked the Savannah folk. We're gonna see if this has any effect on the way we play and the way the some NPCs in the settings react to us. And we are going to play from the perspective of Shiwa. For those of you like really confuzzled because you're new to the channel or don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Shiwa Breen is a character on A Song of Tara, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition Chronicle that's also uploaded on this channel. It is she is our Fina Philodox and played by Rasmus, a dear friend of mine. So if you know her already, this is going to be me trying to play through this game from my perceived perspective of like what would Shiwa do? WWSD. Alright, Shiwa Breen. Boom. Let's do this. Very buff, very smart, not that perceptive, somewhat dexterous, a little bit tough, and moderately resolved. We're a wizard. We are from Old Valia. And we are an aristocrat of Old Valia, which actually fits together better than I initially thought. Like we're from an X-nation, so like we're from broken nobility, which is of course why we're looking to start a life on a dirty farm in the middle of nowhere in Deerwood. All right, let's do this. Caravan Master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you are planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods towards a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who would be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
Nice job, dude. Just shitting on their culture. Well, okay. At last, the Caravan Master turns to you, frowning as he looks you
Touch
over.
of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day.
The rumbling rot. It sounds like shitting yourself to death, doesn't it?
There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry, about the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker. But see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
Odima looks over his shoulder at his assistants. A lanky, intense man named Sparfle, who carries an old sun-bleached bow. Aforementioned line. He nods in your direction. Sparfle nods and slides the worn bow over his shoulder. Where would I find these berries? Where are those ruins? Is it dangerous out here? What are these huge rocks coming out of the ground? I mean, this is the obvious question, right? This is our, we're completely new to the setting questions, while this is the question of a character within the setting. I guess this could work too, working from the assumption that our character doesn't know what Arthur is, or what the Glanfathran ruins are, however that's pronounced. Yeah, what are these huge rocks coming out of the ground? Let's get that.
They don't got Adra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories.
I'm from Irish Africa. A lot of things don't make sense down there.
It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days.
So something definitely changed in the past 20,000 or so years that the recorded history of this world has operated.
The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
This is such an interesting thing, right? The soul butchers. It's just being dropped like that phrase completely out of context. We don't have any options to ask about what's he talking about, soul butchers. So right now we're just kind of working within the setting. He's talking to us as if we would already know this, and the game is not giving us an option to explore it, which in a certain, like, from a design perspective, cements the knowledge of what does he mean when he says this as something everyone would know. Even if we don't, the game then gets us a chance later to explore what's he talking about. But our character is assumed to know.
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay, if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear.
Yeah, that's how culture works, right?
Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
So our character attributes, skills in class, culture, and sex may open up options for you during dialogue. These options are not necessarily superior to the other responses, but give you a wider variety of choices to select from. The manner in which someone responds to your choices depends on their individual personality and attitude. Cool. Okay. So we get this option now, but we can tell that, there's no parentheses or square brackets here telling us, you can ask this because you happen to be an aristocrat or because you're a wizard or whatever. So, yeah, let's be inquisitive, right? We want to know who built the ruins. He's not gonna know, but maybe he's going to do some spooky foreshadowing or something.
Got different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
All right, so the Ingwithans built these things. That's interesting. I guess hopefully we will learn more about the Ingwithans later. Is it dangerous?
Not if you hurry about your business.
Nah, yeah, smart.
And not if the weather holds up.
There is concern in his tone, but he does not elaborate. What kind of weather do they get
this
out
time
here?
of year? Rain, mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a beowick. Born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never care to.
All right. Let's find some berries so I don't die of dysentery.
They grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
We made it halfway to Oregon, guys. We're almost there. All right, let's go find some berries.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot. Not like
I'm a
most
level
of this
1
lot.
mage, dude.
If you drop dead, I don't want to
Very
be looking
helpless.
for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
He scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's night sleeping on uneven ground without blanket or pillow.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time. She needs to find some springberries. Watch that she doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
Hello, Kalisha. The nice portrait.
What kind of guide says something like that?
So she's our guide, eh?
Kind you can afford.
Well
Don't
said.
listen to her. You're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything.
Sure. Odima chuckles and shakes his head. He looks at you. He casts a sidelong glance at her.
Off with you. Hayden should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Bewick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
So I've collapsed with the chronic shits, and this guy wants me to go out and find my own medication. That's harsh, dude. That's really harsh.
You heard the man. Let's get going before you keel over.
Alright. Let's save the game, and we'll be right back with some more.